I never imagined the proudest day of my daughter's life would also become the day I finally spoke the truth I had carried for 23 years. The church was beautiful, too beautiful if I'm being honest. White lilies lined the aisle, crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, and sunlight poured through stained glass windows, painting the pews in soft blues and golds. Everything about the place screamed money, old money, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself except when it does. I adjusted my jacket nervously as I took my seat in the second row. It wasn't new. I'd bought it 8 years ago for a cousin's funeral, had it dry cleaned twice for today, and hoped no one would notice the slight fraying on the cuffs. Across the aisle, I caught a glimpse of them. The Groom's family. Perfect posture, perfect smiles, perfect clothes that probably cost more than my monthly income. His mother wore pearls so white they seemed to glow. His father leaned back casually, confident, as if he owned the building. And then there was Ethan. My daughter's groom. Tall, handsome, well-spoken, educated at elite schools, the kind of man who never had to check price tags, the kind who learned early how to look down without making it obvious. Or so he thought. I swallowed and forced myself to breathe. Today wasn't about me. It was about Emily, my daughter, my whole world, the reason I worked double shifts for years, the reason my hands were permanently rough and my back ached every morning. I reminded myself of that as Ethan approached me before the ceremony. "Mr. Harris," he said politely, extending his hand. I stood and shook it. His grip was firm but distant, like he was doing me a favor. "You look comfortable," he added, glancing at my jacket. I smiled, unsure what to say. Then he leaned in, lowered his voice, and smiled wider. "You know," he whispered, "this wedding is very upscale. Try not to embarrass Emily today. Some of the guests aren't used to low-class environments." Low class. The words hit harder than I expected. I felt my face burn. Around us, laughter floated through the air. Music rehearsed softly. No one noticed the insult or pretended not to. I met his eyes. He was still smiling. "I understand," I said quietly. He nodded, satisfied, and walked away. I sat back down slowly, my heart pounding. If he only knew. Emily. Emily was everything I never got to be. Confident, kind, brilliant. When her mother left us, Emily was only 6. She cried for weeks, asking when Mommy was coming back. I worked construction during the day and cleaned offices at night, barely sleeping, just to keep food on the table and lights on. I never told Emily how many times I skipped meals. I never told her how close we came to losing the house. I never told her about the envelope I kept hidden in a drawer, thick with documents I hoped I'd never need. Because being a father sometimes means swallowing your pride so your child can stand taller. When Emily told me she was engaged to Ethan, I was cautious, but hopeful. "He's different, Dad," she said, eyes shining. "He's ambitious, driven." I smiled and hugged her. I didn't tell her the name felt familiar. I didn't tell her my stomach twisted when I first saw his face. And I certainly didn't tell her why. The ceremony begins. The music swelled, guests stood. Emily appeared at the entrance, radiant in white, her arm linked with mine. "You okay, Dad?" she whispered. I nodded, forcing a smile. "You're beautiful," I said, and meant it with every fiber of my being. As we walked down the aisle, I noticed Ethan watching us, not Emily, but me. His gaze was sharp, evaluating, almost amused. I handed Emily over and took my seat. The officiant began speaking about love, respect, and honesty. I nearly laughed. As vows were exchanged, I noticed something strange. Ethan's confidence wavered. His eyes flicked toward me more than once. Was he nervous? Good, because I was done being silent. The moment. "Does anyone here have any reason," the officiant said, "why these two should not be joined in marriage?" Silence fell. My heart pounded so loudly, I was sure others could hear it. I thought of Emily's laugh as a child, her tears when her mother left, her pride when she graduated college. I thought of Ethan's whisper. "Low class." I stood. Gasps rippled through the church. Emily turned, eyes wide. "Dad." I took a deep breath. "Yes," I said calmly, "I do." Ethan's face drained of color. This man, I continued, pointing at him, has built his life on lies. The officiant stammered, "Sir, this is highly inappropriate." "No," I said firmly. "What's inappropriate is pretending this man is someone he is." Ethan shook his head. "Sir, please." "Your real name," I said, voice steady, "is Ethan Cole, but 23 years ago you went by Evan Carter." A murmur spread through the crowd. His mother stiffened. His father stood abruptly. "This is absurd." I reached into my jacket pocket, the old jacket, and pulled out the envelope. 23 years ago, I continued, a man abandoned his pregnant girlfriend. He stole money from her, disappeared, and changed his name after being involved in a financial fraud case that was quietly settled by his wealthy parents. Ethan's knees nearly buckled. I opened the envelope and held up copies of documents. Police reports, settlement agreements, name change records. Emily stared at Ethan, trembling. "Is this true?" He couldn't look at her. I turned to the guests. "That woman," I said softly, "was my wife." A stunned silence fell. "And that unborn child," I added, my voice breaking for the first time, "was Emily." Emily gasped. Ethan finally looked up, eyes wild. "I didn't know." "You knew," I snapped. "You knew exactly who I was when you mocked me. You just thought I was powerless." I stepped closer. "You thought low class meant low worth." I looked at my daughter. "Emily, I never told you because I wanted you to choose love freely, but you deserve the truth." Tears streamed down her face. She removed her ring. "I can't marry you," she said to Ethan. "Not like this, not built on lies." The church erupted in whispers. Ethan's parents tried to intervene, but it was over. Aftermath. The wedding was called off. The story made headlines, not because of me, but because powerful families hate secrets being exposed. Emily moved in with me for a while. We talked for hours, cried, healed. "I'm proud of you, Dad," she said one night. "Not just for today, for always." I smiled, tired but lighter than I'd felt in decades. As for Ethan, he disappeared again. Some people never change. Epilogue. Months later, Emily and I sat on the porch, watching the sunset. "You know," she said, smiling, "you're not low class at all." I laughed. "No," I said, "I'm just honest." And sometimes, honesty is the most powerful thing in the room.